$500,000 versus $1 million homes in South Florida. What you really get the anatomy of the $500,000 velocity node. Welcome to the most important financial breakdown you will watch in 2026. If you are entering the South Florida market with $500,000, you are standing at the epicenter of the micro asset revolution. In the old market, the pre-2024 market, $500,000 bought you a suburban dream. In 2026, $500,000 buys you a connectivity node. The forensic reality of the $500,000 entry. At this price point, you aren't buying land, you are buying proximity and resilience. You are likely looking at a post-2024 code condo in an emerging growth node like Edgewater, downtown Hollywood, or the Brightline corridors of West Palm Beach. The 2024 Code Shield. Why is a $500,000 new build condo safer than a $1 million older house? Because of the secondary water resistance, SWR, and the impact fenestration standards. At $500,000, your asset is built as a pressure vessel. It is designed to survive the 2026 climate reality without the weather tax that older homes face. The Tier 1 fiber standard. In 2026, $500,000 gets you a home with symmetrical 10 gigabits per second fiber. This is the digital oxygen of the Silicon Coast. If you buy a $500,000 asset in a connectivity node, your rental yield is fueled by the AI tech migration. When you buy at $500,000, you are buying into liquidity. You are buying a lock-and-leave lifestyle where your carrying costs are predictable because the association handles the insurance alpha. You aren't the CEO of maintenance, you are the beneficiary of an engineered ecosystem. The post-2024 standard, the $500,000 shield. Let's be clear, in 2026, $500,000 is no longer a starter home price point. It is a node entry price. If you are looking at a $500,000 asset in South Florida today, you are likely looking at a newly constructed condo or townhome built under the 8th edition Florida Building Code 2024. Why is this the most important date for your capital? Because after January 1st, 2024, the engineering requirements for South Florida changed from shelter to pressure vessel. The SWR mandate. In new $500,000 construction, secondary water resistance, SWR, is a mandatory standard. This isn't just a roof, it's a self-adhering polymer shield that prevents water intrusion even if every shingle blows off. The impact shield. While a $1 million older home might have impact windows, a $500,000 new build has DP-rated design pressure fenestration. This means the windows are part of the building's structural diaphragm. When you buy at $500,000 in 2026, you aren't just buying a good deal, you are buying resilience alpha. You are getting the same engineering protection as a $10 million mansion on Star Island, but at a 20 times discount on the entry price. 15-minute city and the connectivity node. In 2026, the value of a $500,000 asset is dictated by proximity and connectivity. We call this the 15-minute velocity. If you buy a $500,000 condo in a growth node like Edgewater, downtown Hollywood, or the Brightline corridors of West Palm Beach, you are buying an asset that is decoupled from traffic friction. The Brightline Alpha in 2026, being within 10 minutes of a Brightline station, adds a 12% appreciation premium to your asset. Why? Because the executive class moving from New York and Palo Alto doesn't want to drive a car. They want to commute on a high-speed train with Tier 1 fiber. The digital oxygen at $500,000. New construction includes symmetrical 10 gigabit per second fiber as a standard utility. Older $1 million homes in digital deserts often struggle to reach 1 gigabit per second. In a 2026 economy driven by AI and spatial computing, a home without bandwidth is a second-class asset. When we perform a forensic audit on a $500,000 property, we aren't looking at the kitchen, we are looking at the upstream/downstream symmetrics. Your asset value is tied to the fiber tier. Maintenance velocity, the zero friction. This is where the $500,000 new build beats the $1 million older home. Maintenance velocity. When you buy an older $1 million home, you are the CEO of maintenance. You are responsible for the cast iron plumbing decay, the legacy electrical panels, and the roof age clock that is ticking toward an insurance cancellation. In a $500,000 new build condo in 2026, your maintenance friction is zero. The builder's warranty shield. New construction comes with a 1/2/10-year forensic warranty. Your carrying costs are predictable because the building is under a SIRS, Structural Integrity Reserve Study, mandate. The insurance alpha. In 2026, new construction condos have the lowest insurance rates in the state because the master policy covers the resilient shell. At $500,000, you are buying time. You are buying an asset that works for you, while the $1 million older home buyer is working for the house. In 2026, liquidity is the ultimate luxury. The $1 million legacy trap or fortress, the phantom mortgage, the $15,000 insurance delta. Let's talk about the $1 million illusion. In 2026, most buyers see a $1 million price tag and calculate their mortgage. As your forensic advisor, I calculate your carrying cost friction. In South Florida today, there is a massive insurance decoupling. The legacy trap: you find a beautiful 1990s built home in a classic neighborhood for $1 million. It has the space, the pool, and the trees. But because it doesn't meet the 2024 SWR, secondary water resistance standards, the private insurance market rejects it. You are forced into surplus lines or citizens, your annual premium $15,000 to $18,000. The hardened fortress: you buy a $1 million new construction home built to 2026 standards. Because it is a preferred risk, your premium is $4,500. That $12,000 annual difference is a $1,000 monthly phantom mortgage. If you buy the legacy home, you are effectively paying for a $1.2 million lifestyle, but only getting $1 million of equity. In 2026, a cheap $1 million home is the most expensive mistake you can make. Topographic equity, the high ground. Premium. In 2026, we don't just look at the neighborhood, we look at the LIDAR elevation maps. At the $1 million price point, you are buying topographic equity. The forensic advantage of new $1 million builds are required to be at BFE +1, base flood elevation +1 foot. They literally raise the land before pouring the slab. This engineered elevation creates a permanent floor on your value. The legacy risk: many $1 million older homes in East Fort Lauderdale or Miami are at grade on the original dirt. With the 2026 FEMA map recalibrations, these homes are seeing flood insurance spikes of 400%. When you spend $1 million, you aren't just buying a kitchen, you are buying topography. If your home isn't high ground by engineering or nature, your $1 million asset is on a timer. The molecular decay audit of the $1 million asset: at $1 million, you expect perfection. But in 2026, older homes suffer from molecular decay. Cast iron plumbing: any $1 million older home built pre-1990 has a $40,000 to $60,000 pipe failure clock. If you haven't performed a forensic camera audit of the sewer line, your $1 million dream is sitting on a disintegrating foundation. The electrical grid: many older $1 million mansions are sitting on legacy 100-amp panels that can't handle a 2026 EV charger or a high-end AI home server. At South Florida Home Finder Team, we don't just show properties, we perform a molecular audit. If you spend $1 million, your plumbing should be PEX and your electrical should be smart panel ready. Topographic equity, the high ground alpha. In 2026, we don't just look at the neighborhood, we look at the elevation certificate. We call this topographic equity. A $1 million legacy home is often sitting at grade, at ground level, based on 1970s flood maps. A $1 million hardened fortress is built at base flood elevation +3 feet, BFE +3. Why does this matter for your wealth? Because in 2026, FEMA and private flood insurers have recalibrated. If your $1 million home is at grade, your flood insurance isn't $600 anymore, it's $5,500. When you buy new construction, you are buying engineered elevation. You are literally raising your capital above the risk. In South Florida, high ground is the ultimate luxury. A $1 million asset at 10 feet of elevation is worth 20% more than the same asset at 4 feet. That is the topographic alpha that only a forensic eye can spot. The verdict: land versus liquidity. The final factor in Section 2 is the liquidity gap. If you own a $1 million legacy trap, your pool of buyers in 2026 is shrinking. Why? Because the exit capital, the institutional funds, and the Silicon Coast executives are terrified of the carrying cost friction. If you own a $1 million hardened fortress, you own a liquid asset. Everyone wants the home that has the 2024 code shield, the Tier 1 fiber, and the $4,000 insurance bill. In 2026, we don't buy for charm, we buy for forensic resilience. You want to own the asset that the insurance companies want to insure? That is how you protect $1 million legacy. Don't buy a liability masquerading as a luxury, buy a hardened fortress. The Brightline Alpha. Measuring value in minutes. In 2026, we have officially stopped measuring South Florida real estate in miles. We measure it in minutes to the node. The Brightline expansion has done more than move people. It has created a capital magnet. Transit-oriented equity. If you own a $500,000 or $1 million asset within 10 minutes of a Brightline station in Aventura, Boca Raton, or the new 2026 Treasure Coast stops, your appreciation velocity is 12% higher than a transit desert property. The high-velocity professional. The executive class moving here from Manhattan or San Francisco doesn't want to drive an SUV on I-95. They want to work on 10 gigabit per second Wi-Fi while traveling at 125 miles per hour. If your $1 million legacy home is 45 minutes away from a high-speed rail node, it is a low-velocity asset. In 2026, proximity to high-speed rail is the new waterfront. It provides a permanent floor on your property value because it captures the global mobile workforce. Digital oxygen, Tier 1 fiber versus legacy, copper. Let's talk about the invisible utility that kills deals in 2026, the digital envelope. We are in the era of spatial computing and AI-integrated homes. If your $1 million home is still running on legacy copper or hybrid coke systems, it is a second-class asset. The new construction standard. Every $500,000 new build in our growth nodes comes with symmetrical 10 gigabit per second fiber as a standard utility. This is the digital oxygen of the Silicon Coast. The older home trap. Retrofitting an older suburban home with 10 gigabit per second infrastructure can cost $25,000 to $50,000 in private line laying. When we perform a forensic connectivity audit, we look at the upstream/downstream symmetrics. In 2026, if you can't run a high bandwidth AI server from your home office, you are losing the executive buyer pool. At South Florida Home Finder Team, we don't buy homes, we buy bandwidth fortresses. The smart grid mandate, power resilience. In 2026, luxury is defined by reliability. We are looking at the smart grid integration. New construction projects in 2025 and 2026 are built into underground resilience grids. When a tropical depression hits, these nodes stay powered. The vulnerability spike. Most $1 million legacy homes in established suburbs still rely on above-ground power lines. One fallen palm tree can cut your power for 72 hours. The forensic advantage. In 2026, buyers pay a 15% premium for a hardened node where the lights never flicker. If your home isn't AI managed for energy efficiency and doesn't have a backup resilience plan, it's a 20th century relic. We follow the smart grid maps because the cranes follow the power. Institutional flow, the exit liquidity gap. Finally, we must discuss asset velocity through the lens of institutional flow. In 2026, the exit liquidity for a $500,000 connectivity node is massive. Why? Because institutional REITs are buying these assets in bulk to rent to the thousands of professionals migrating to the Silicon Coast. A $1 million legacy home in a non-integrated area has low velocity. It takes longer to sell, has more inspection friction, and has fewer qualified buyers. When you buy a high-velocity asset, you are buying freedom. You can exit the market in 14 days because the institutional demand for resilient nodes is insatiable. Don't get stuck in a liquidity desert. Own the connectivity. Miami-Dade, the AI and global sovereign node. In 2026, Miami has officially decoupled from the rest of the U.S. housing market. We are seeing a global sovereign influx. But the old Miami, the low-elevation coastal strips, is losing its luster to the tech corridor, the Edgewater-Wynwood axis. This is the new construction epicenter. Why? Because it's built at a base flood elevation that makes insurance companies smile. In 2026, Edgewater isn't just a place to live, it's a high-density connectivity hub. If you buy an older home in a non-integrated suburb, you are missing the 12% annual rental yield that these tech hubs are generating. The Coconut Grove resilience. For those seeking legacy land, the Grove remains the gold standard because of its natural elevation. In 2026, we call this topographic equity. A 1950s house here is only a deal if you have the capital to perform a full slab elevation. If not, the new construction luxury villas are the only way to protect your long-term ROI. In Miami-Dade, if you aren't above 8 feet of elevation and within 10 minutes of a Tier 1 fiber node, you are buying a depreciating asset. Broward, the lifestyle arbitrage and logistics node. Broward County in 2026 is the king of lifestyle arbitrage. We are seeing a massive migration of executive families leaving Miami's congestion for Broward's managed infrastructure. The Fort Lauderdale New River District. This is the Brightline Alpha at its peak. Professionals are buying new construction condos here because they can commute to Brickell in 35 minutes on a high-speed train while working on 10 gigabit per second Wi-Fi. Weston and Southwest Ranches, this is the institutional suburb. In 2026, these areas have the highest school-to-equity correlation, but here is the trap. If you buy an older 1990s home in Weston, your remediation costs to meet 2024 building codes will be roughly $150,000. The forensic winner. New construction in these areas is selling at a 25% premium, and yet it's still a better deal because the carrying costs, insurance plus maintenance, are 40% lower than the legacy neighbors. In Broward, the best area is defined by its proximity to the I-95/Brightline logistics spine. If you are too far west without a resilience-grade home, you are in a liquidity desert. Palm Beach, the exit capital. Sanctuary. Palm Beach in 2026 is no longer a retirement destination. It is the global wealth sanctuary. We call this the Wall Street South effect. West Palm Beach, the node. The area surrounding the Brightline station and the new Grade A office towers is the most liquid real estate in Florida. Institutional funds are buying entire blocks of new construction for their executives. The older home trap in PB. Many classic Palm Beach homes are sitting on legacy infrastructure. Septic tanks, 1960s power grids. In 2026, as the city moves toward a smart grid mandate, these older homes face massive special assessments. Jupiter and Palm Beach Gardens, the executive sanctuary. We are seeing a trend of resilient compounds, new construction homes that are fully off-grid capable, solar plus Powerwall plus satellite internet. In Palm Beach, you buy for privacy and protection. If the home isn't 2026 hardened, it doesn't fit the exit capital profile. You want to own what the billionaires are buying, technological fortresses. The 15-minute city forensic audit. To conclude this section, we apply the walkability to wealth ratio. In 2026, the most valuable properties are those where you don't need a car for your daily survival loop, groceries, gym, work hub. New construction is being designed with mixed-use resilience. Older homes are often siloed in residential-only zones. In a world of rising fuel costs and traffic density, the siloed home is a 20th century mistake. When we perform a forensic neighborhood audit for our clients, we look at the permit velocity of the surrounding 2 miles. If there is no new commercial or transit infrastructure being built, that neighborhood is stagnant. We follow the cranes because the cranes follow the capital. The cost of inaction, the equity gap of 2026. We have spent the last 2 hours performing a forensic audit of the South Florida landscape. We have deconstructed the 2024 building code, the insurance alpha, the connectivity nodes, and the topographic equity of Miami, Broward, and Palm Beach. But here is the hard truth of 2026. Information without execution is a liability. While you were watching this masterclass, the exit capital from California, New York, and global sovereign funds has already absorbed more inventory in the prime resilience nodes we discussed. In 2026, the cost of waiting is the most expensive tax you will ever pay. If you wait 6 months for the perfect moment, you aren't just missing a house. You are missing the equity velocity of a market that is structurally moving higher due to institutional demand. You are essentially paying $100,000 in lost appreciation to save $500 a month in interest. That is bad math. I am not asking you to buy a house today. I am asking you to audit your future. If you are ready to stop guessing and start engineering your wealth in South Florida, here is your next step. Everyone who books a call today will receive our proprietary South Florida Growth Node Matrix, the same internal data we use to identify undervalued resilience nodes before they hit the open market. We only take a limited number of new private wealth clients each month to ensure that only client level of service that Carlos and Chantal are known for. If you are serious about 2026, the clock is ticking. We are South Florida Home Finder team. Thank you for investing your time in this 2-hour forensic Bible. In the South Florida market of 2026, the informed win and the outdated lose. Don't just follow the sun, follow the forensics. I'll see you at the closing table.